Hello everyone, how are you? So we will continue in this lecture the glycosides as part 2, talking about learning outcomes. At the end of this lecture you'll be able to classify different types of glycosides, and glycosides can be classified based on different way. First of all, based on the configuration that we discussed in our previous lecture, and glycoside can also be classified based on the type of glycosidic linkage, and sugar moiety, non-sugar moiety, as well as based on the properties or function of glycoside. We will go through one by one. So first of all, classification of glycoside based on configuration. So first class is beta glycoside. Here the glycoside these are the glycoside with beta configuration at anomeric carbon. For example, here you can see the example is salicin, where the aglycon part you can see is cis to the CH2OH group in beta configuration. And it is important to note that a majority of plant glycosides are beta glycoside in nature. Second one is alpha glycoside, where these are the glycoside with alpha configuration at the anomeric carbon. That means the aglycon part remain trans to the CH2OH group. For example, methyl alpha D glucopyranoside. You can see the aglycon part is trans to the CH2OH group of the anomeric carbon. And only very few medicinal alpha glycosides are known, and these are mainly rhamnosides. Now coming to the next type of classification of glycoside, that is based on glycosidic linkage. So glycosidic bond or linkage is a type of covalent bond which joins a carbohydrate molecule to another group which may or may not be a carbohydrate group. The first example is the O-glycoside. Here the glycosidic bond is formed between the anomeric carbon and the carbon of a sugar, anomeric carbon of the sugar with the hydroxyl group of second molecule. And you can see in the glycosidic linkage the linked atom is the oxygen. That's why it is known as O-glycosidic linkage, okay, or O-glycosides. And here you would like to note that the oxygen atom of the O-glycosidic linkage comes from the aglycon part, not from the glycon part. Similarly, when you have nitrogen in the glycosidic linkage, we call it as N-glycoside. S-glycoside, if it contains sulfur, they are also known as thioglycosides. We call them as C-glycoside, but I would like to mention here in IUPAC nomenclature, rather than C-glycoside, they prefer to mention it as C-glycosyl compound. And another note I would like to add here, all the glycosides are susceptible to various enzymes, and compared to all other glycosides, C-glycosides are found to be more resistant to hydrolysis. These are some of the examples of glycosides. You can see S-glycoside. Okay, the name of the compound is senegrine, which is available from black mustard seed. You can see the linked atom is sulfur. Second one is an example of N-glycoside, which is nothing but the structure of adenosine, which is an important molecule of human body and is nucleic acid. Third example is again an example of O-glycoside. You can see the linked atom between the aglycon part and glycon part is oxygen. The name of the compound is arbutin. It is mainly used for the treatment of urinary tract infection. Another example of O-glycoside, you can see the linked atom is oxygen between the aglycon part and the glycon part. And this glycoside name is vanillin glucoside. It is also sometimes classified under aldehyde glycoside because the aglycon part contains the aldehyde. Similarly, the previous O-glycoside can also be classified under phenolic glycoside because the aglycon part contains the phenolic group. Now coming to the classification of glycoside based on carbohydrate moiety. So we know there could be different types of sugar like glucose. So when the glycon part is glucose in glycoside, we call them as glycoside. If the glycon part is fructose, we call them as fructosides. If the glycol part is rhamnose sugar, then we call it as rhamnoside. Similarly, if the glycon part is glucuronic acid, okay, or the glycoside is a derivative of glucuronic acid, we call them as glucuronides. And I would like to add a note here. Glucuronides play an important role in human body for drug metabolism, where it helps to eliminate a lot of drug metabolites, mainly the toxic metabolites from the body in the form of glucuronides, mainly in phase 2 of the drug metabolism of the body. Now coming to the classification of glycoside based on non-carbohydrate moiety. Glycosides are also classified based on chemical nature of a glycon, okay, and these are nothing but saponin, where the aglycon is sapogenine in nature, and flavonoid glycoside, where the aglycon has the flavonoid structure, and anthocyanins means where the aglycon part is anthocyanidin in nature, which anthocyanidin is again a type of flavonoid, but it has oxonium ion. I would like to mention here that all this class of glycosides we are going to deal as a separate chapter, so I will not be discussing in detail, okay, but in brief. So cyanogenic glycoside, when the aglycon contains cyanohydrin group. Isothiocyanate glycoside, when the aglycon contains isothiocyanate group. We call them as phenolic glycoside when the aglycon is a phenolic structure. And similarly aldehyde glycosides, when the aglycon is aldehyde in nature. Coumarin glycoside if the aglycon is coumarin. Terpene glycoside if the aglycon contains a terpene group. And similarly we also call it as tannin glycoside if the aglycon contains a tannin group. Again, some of the examples, you can see this glycoside, we can classify this glycoside, we can classify it either as S-glycoside or isothiocyanate glycoside because it contains the isothiocyanate functional group. Secondly, this one also, we call it as an N-glycoside, and if you look at this O-glycoside, this can be classified under phenolic glycoside as well because it contains phenolic structure as part of the aglycon. And the last one, again, the O-glycoside, as I mentioned already earlier, this can be classified under aldehyde glycoside as well because the aglycon part is aldehyde in nature. Now coming to the last class of glycoside, that is classified based on their biological functions. First one is the most famous one, that is cardiac glycosides, where the glycoside under this class are found to have the ability to stimulate cardiac muscle contraction and used therapeutically for the treatment of mainly congestive heart failure. Second class, we call them as saponin because they possess soap-like properties. For example, queelic acid available from the queeliza bark. Third one is laxative glycoside, for example, Sinoside ABCD that are available from senna leaves, aloe available from aloe vera. And another class is analgesic and antipyretic glycoside. One of the most important example is salicin, which is obtained from salicylic, which after consumption inside the body converted into salicylic acid, which shows antipyretic effect. And next one is anti-inflammatory glycoside. One of the example is centelloside, which is available from centella leaves, and it is mainly used for the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis. And so on, we can classify different glycoside based on their pharmacological properties. So another example is glycoside as locally retained, for example, cinegreen, available from black mustard seed, cinalbine, that is available from white mustard seed. So with this I finish the classification of glycoside. These are some of the references. Thank you for your attention.